Check for their adaptability and integration capabilities without significant impact to your processes. So look for case studies around these. All this information helps you to understand whether the company has the capability and whether they would be able to align with your business needs. Let's move on. Now, when it comes to choosing the vendor, you will find two types of vendors in the market. You would find a full service provider and you'll find a niche test only providers. Each one of them have their own advantages and disadvantages which they bring on the table. So in the next two slides, let us understand this in detail, which will help strengthening your decision process while outsourcing. Full service providers. The full service providers bring a vast array of resources with the most experience in testing, though not in standalone testing. Now, what I mean by standalone testing is the hardcore experience and expertise from testing background. As we all know, the mindset of a developer and tester will be very different. What you might see in these full service providers is that the transition of developers to testing and not having a hardcore seasoned tester. These companies have ability to quickly deploy large teams and more likely to have extensive domain knowledge. So those are some of the advantages which you have. While the disadvantages are they are not focused towards testing. So as a company, the focus is not towards testing. Testing is just one of their services in the portfolio they offer. Though they might have center of excellence established towards testing, the vision of the company and the management focus will not justify or show attention exclusively to the space. So you will often see experienced testers transition from other roles, and also you would see rotation of staff from other delivery units. So these are some of strengths and weakness of full service providers. Now let us see what the test only providers have to offer. These are companies who have niche expertise only in testing, and they actually attract people who have passion for testing. The career paths for resources in these companies help them evolve as a strong tester, making differentiation while doing their job. These companies have a deeper testing expertise and commitment to the industry. They are most likely to have IP built around testing tools, frameworks, and would have rolled out testing labs geographically to cater various needs of testing. The advantage with these companies is that they offer custom-based test harnesses to address the specific needs of your requirements. These companies are most likely to bring a lot of experience from the IXVs, that's the independent hardware and software vendors. The disadvantage with these companies is that they bring fewer resources to the table. What I mean by fewer resources is they will not be able to ramp up larger teams in shorter notice, particularly if you need it geographically. Most of these companies are likely to have less global footprint with 2 or 3 locations geographically versus the full service providers who possibly have more than 6 resource centers worldwide. Well, that's just an example. So there is always give and take on whom you wish to choose. So the judgment factor on whom to choose depends on the needs and the purpose of the engagement. Let's move on. The evolving country decision and the economics. The choice of outsourcing has to be understood not only from a vendor capabilities but also the country in which you decide to outsource. The quadrant here helps to list the driving factors for various countries and shows the path of low to high for these factors. As you see, the major driving factors are the location attractiveness and the capabilities of the workforce. Well, the location attractiveness is comprised of the cultural compatibility, the infrastructure, the risks the country poses. Well, the risks can be in terms of the economic revolution, the war, stability, a lot of other factors. So check for all the possible risks. Check also the time zone in which they operate. So does it meet your time zone? Will it give you the 24 cycle which you want? Things like that. And also check the tax incentives provided by these locations. Well, however, the tax incentives are mostly a decision factor when you are in the vision of captives. So let's look at the second dimension, the capabilities of the workforce. The capabilities of the workforce is mostly influenced by the wages, the education and qualifications, the work ethics, attrition, and talent of the middle management. So, as you see in the quadrant, countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, or Mexico might attract by their location, but will fail to provide the workforce or the talent. The workforce is still limited there. The best of the breed is available in countries like India, Canada, Ireland, and as we all know, China seems to be emerging to secure a position in this quadrant. So, a decision making around choosing a country will have to consider all these factors, and it will always help you to make a better judgment. In this slide, I'll try to explain the change in trend on the return on investment for QA purely on monetary basis. The pies here you see represent the different ages of outsourcing. In the early 2000s, the companies who have started outsourcing this QA service. So that is when we have seen the industry respecting independent testing, and that is where companies have started outsourcing versus doing testing in-house. So in the 2000s, when you see outsourcing, there was a total savings of 60% compared to performing testing in-house. Generally, as an industry best practice, when you outsource, it is always recommended to maintain contingency from the total savings you get. Well, why contingency is needed? This contingency will be used to either staff in-house or to choose another outsourcing provider if there is a failure to meet your business goals. So as you see, during this period, the companies had a cushion to experiment and fail